In the early 20th century, a mysterious figure emerged from the vast wilderness of Siberia, a self-proclaimed holy man with piercing eyes and a hypnotic gaze. His name was Grigori Rasputin, and his arrival in the glittering, Gestioma, opulent capital of St. Petersburg would mark the beginning of the end for Russia's last imperial family, the Romanovs. How did this uneducated peasant come to hold the fate of an empire in his hands? This is the story of the Mad Monk, the mystic healer, the man who defied death, and whose shadow still looms large over one of history's most dramatic downfalls. Imagine the Russian court at the turn of the century. It was a world of unimaginable wealth, grand balls, and strict social etiquette, ruled by Tsar Nicholas II and his German-born wife, Tsarina Alexandra. But beneath the gilded surface, a current of desperation flowed through the Winter Palace. Their only son and heir to the throne, Alexei, suffered from hemophilia, a rare and incurable blood disorder. A simple bump or bruise could trigger excruciating pain and life-threatening internal bleeding. The finest doctors in the empire were powerless, leaving the royal couple in a state of constant fear and prayer. It was into this atmosphere of despair that Rasputin walked. He was introduced to the Tsarina in 1905, a rough, charismatic figure who claimed to be a Stariotes, a spiritual pilgrim with a direct line to God. When Alexei suffered another severe bleeding episode, the frantic Tsarina, having exhausted all other options, sent for Rasputin. What happened next is the stuff of legend. Rasputin reportedly prayed at the boy's bedside, and against all medical odds, the bleeding stopped. The young Tsarevich began to recover. To the Tsarina, this was nothing short of a divine miracle. From that moment on, Rasputin was her savior, a man sent by God to protect her son and the future of Russia. With the Tsarina's unwavering trust, Rasputin's influence grew exponentially. He was no longer just a spiritual advisor, became the Empress's closest confidant. While Tsar Nicholas II was often away at the front lines during World War I, Rasputin's sway over the Tsarina, and through her, the government became almost absolute. He would recommend ministers for appointment and dismissal, often based on little more than a whim or a supposed divine vision. His choices were frequently disastrous, placing incompetent cronies in positions of immense power, crippling the government and undermining the war effort. As his political power soared, so did the scandals surrounding his personal life. St. Petersburg was awash with rumors of his debauchery. Stories circulated of wild, drunken parties, of him boasting about his influence over the mama, as he called the Tsarina, and of his affairs with aristocratic women who sought his blessings. While some of these tales were likely exaggerated by his enemies, Rasputin's behavior was undeniably shocking. He seemed to embody a strange paradox, a man of God who reveled in sins of the flesh, preaching salvation while indulging in excess. Cartoons and pamphlets depicted him as a demonic puppet master, with the Tsar and Tsarina as his helpless marionettes. The Russian people, already suffering from the devastating losses of the war and severe food shortages, saw Rasputin as the ultimate symbol of the court's corruption and decay. The mystic healer was now seen as the dark force destroying the nation from within. Public outrage reached a fever pitch, and the whispers of conspiracy turned into loud calls for his removal. By the winter of 1916, the Russian aristocracy could take no more. A group of conservative nobles, led by the dashing Prince Felix Yusupov, decided that the only way to save the monarchy was to eliminate Rasputin. They believed his death would break his spell over the Tsarina and allow the Tsar to rule effectively again. They hatched a plot, as dramatic and bizarre as the man they sought to kill. On a frigid December night, Yusupov lured Rasputin to his palace on the Moika River under the pretense that his beautiful wife wished to meet the famous holy man. The stage was set for one of history's most infamous assassinations. In a lavishly decorated basement, Yusupov offered Rasputin cakes and wine laced with enough cyanide to kill several men. To the conspirators' astonishment, Rasputin consumed them with no apparent effect, complained the wine was too sweet, but continued to chat. Growing desperate, Yusupov excused himself, retrieved a revolver, and returned to shoot Rasputin in the chest. The mad monk collapsed. Believing him dead, the conspirators began to celebrate. But when Yusupov bent down to check the body, Rasputin's eyes snapped open. With a roar, he leaped to his feet, grabbed the horrified prince, and clawed his way up the stairs and into the snowy courtyard. The other conspirators, hearing the commotion, rushed outside. They fired again, hitting Rasputin multiple times. He finally fell into a snowbank, seemingly lifeless at last, but they were taking no chances. They bound his body, wrapped it in a heavy curtain, and drove to a bridge over the icy Neva River. They pushed the body through a hole in the ice, certain he was gone for good. When his body was recovered days later, the autopsy report created a final, chilling mystery. It was said that water was found in his lungs, suggesting that even after being poisoned shot multiple times and bound, Grigori Rasputin was still alive when he was thrown into the freezing river, fighting for life until the very end. The assassination, meant to save the Romanov dynasty, did the exact opposite. Instead of restoring order, it only deepened the chaos. The Tsarina was devastated, convinced that Russia's divine protection had died with her holy man. The public, while relieved at Rasputin's death, saw it as further proof of the aristocracy's lawlessness. The murder didn't solve any of Russia's deep-seated problems, the war, the hunger, the political incompetence. It was merely a symptom of a system on the brink of total collapse. Just a few months later, in March 1917, the February Revolution erupted. The army mutinied, the people rioted, and the centuries-old Romanov dynasty was swept away. Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate, and he and his family were placed under house arrest. The following year, they were executed by Bolshevik revolutionaries, bringing a bloody end to their reign. So, what is the legacy of Grigori Rasputin? Is he a true mystic healer, a charlatan, or simply a shrewd opportunist who exploited a desperate family's weakness? Perhaps he was a combination of all three. His presence at the heart of the Russian court certainly accelerated the monarchy's decline. He became the focal point for all the hatred and frustration directed at the regime. His scandalous life and immense influence exposed the rot at the core of the empire, making the royal family appear weak, corrupt, and completely out of touch with their people. He didn't start the fire, but he poured gallons of fuel on it. The story of Rasputin is a dark and fascinating chapter in history, a cautionary tale of how the personal faith and fears of a few powerful individuals can have catastrophic consequences for an entire nation. His life and death remain a powerful symbol of the decadence, superstition, and turmoil that paved the way for the Russian Revolution. Thank you for watching. If you found this journey into the dark heart of Imperial Russia fascinating, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more historical deep dives, and share your thoughts on Rasputin in the comments below. We'll see you in the next video.